Hi, everyone. Like I said, for week 3, we're going to be discussing 2 chapters, chapter 4 and chapter 5. Chapter 4 has 5 objectives, and so let's just go over them. So, let me get the computer going. The first objective that we're going to talk about is understanding the nature of communication and its barriers in the digital age. And there's quite a few barriers. The second one is summarize the 3x3 writing process and explain how it guides a writer, you. And it's really unique how that 3x3 writing process works. Number 3, analyze the purpose of a message, anticipate its audience, and select the best communication channel. You will have a homework assignment that you will need to understand objective 3. 4, employ expert writing techniques, such as incorporating audience benefits, the you view, conversational but professional language, a positive and courteous tone, bias-free language, plain language, and vigorous words. And then understand how teams approach collaborative writing projects, or in other words, team projects, and what collaboration tools support team writing. So let's get going. Let's see if the computer will be friendly with me today. Mhm. Okay. Tom's founder, Blake McCoskey, inspires doing good with a powerful message. This guy's really kind of cool. He came up with something really neat. He's the founder of Tom's Shoes, and here's a picture of it. If you sell a pair of shoes today, you'll give away a pair of shoes tomorrow. Real basic. That message has turned into a communication mantra for the entrepreneur, whose trademark canvas shoes have propelled him, his ideas, and his brand into a global phenomenon. So I want you can read this. It's really cool. Let's see, his brand's been selling in Nordstrom's, Macy's, and Whole Foods. And to promote the message of what he wants to do, he wants to give back. Tom's has been savvy in using audience awareness and well-chosen media channels. Let's see. There's been active engagement of young people, especially college students, through internships and campus programs. One recent intern in the Tom's online content department explains the importance of planning and creating web content. Basically, I was trying to look for the statistic here because I thought, yeah. He visited Argentina and was moved by the many children he witnessed suffering from a disease they contracted when going barefoot. He was soon selling his version of the plan Argentina Alpargata, and whoever, if anyone speaks Spanish out there, I slaughtered that word, now apologize. Shoe to finance giving free shoes to needy children. All right. So I believe in here somewhere it says when you buy a pair of shoes, he donates a pair of shoes. And so I think that's really kind of cool. So, critical thinking in planning your business messages, how can you alter your writing to effectively engage audiences of various ages or educational levels? A lot of times people write for themselves, they write like they talk. And when you're writing professionally, whatever profession you're in, you cannot write like you talk. You have to kick it up a notch. It's not to be insulting, but when we talk, we might use more slang. We might use more contractions, which aren't necessarily the best things to use when you're writing professionally. And so you kind of have to pick up your writing ability just a smidge. Why do even experienced writers use a writing process? And why is it so important to know your purpose before beginning to write? Purpose just means why. So why are you writing? Why are you writing this story? Why are you writing this letter? What's the purpose of writing this letter? So, learning objective 1, understand the nature of communication and its barriers in the digital age. And so we're going to talk a little bit about staff members and college interns at the Toms, which is this guy up here. And people are sending more and more messages. There are exciting new avenues of interaction. However, even as we have gotten used to email, instant messaging, texting, Twitter, and other interactive media, the nature of communication remains unchanged. No matter how we create or send our messages, the basic communication process consists of the same elements. It starts with an idea that needs to be transmitted. You're trying to communicate with somebody, you're trying to get a message across. So, in its simplest form, definition of communication is the transmission of information and meaning from a sender to receiver. So you're giving information from you to someone else. And as it goes on to tell you, the definition, the main part of that is meaning. If the person if you mean one thing, if you're thinking um, the horse is white, yes, I know, I'm back to my silly example, sorry. The horse is white, but somehow, and so you're talking about a white horse, but somehow the person that you're talking to is interpreting that you're talking about a black horse. And when you start making comments like about how well you can see him and his color and all this, and he's saying, color, blacks, if you're not on the same page and if you don't understand the meaning between one another, it's not going to work. And so the next sentence says this very beautifully. The process is successful only when the receiver understands an idea as the sender intended it to be. And so it refers us to figure 4.1, and we're going to get there in just a minute. It's only the process of communication is only successful when both sender and receiver understand the process and how to make it work effectively. So for starters, we're going to go see here. We're going to talk about that in a minute. Sender, you, has an ideal. The form of the ideal may be complex. It may include mood, frame of reference. That just means what you're referring to. Why, your frame of reference when you write for school may be your bedroom. It may be the light. It's your understanding of things. It's where you're coming from. I just thought of this. People in the Deep South write and talk differently than people in Boston. Okay. I know because my dad was from the Deep South and I've had friends living in Boston. They don't always use the same words for the same thing. But if you're in the Deep South and you're writing to a friend up in Boston and you're saying you're using the words that are very familiar to someone living in the Deep South, people in Boston that were born and bred Boston may look at the letter and go, what in heaven's name are they saying? Okay, so that's the frame of reference. We each have our own frame of reference. Their background, their culture, and their physical makeup, real situation, and a bunch of other stuff. And manager sending an email announcement to employees asking them to conserve energy, assume that they're going to be receptive. Yeah, he's the manager, right? On the other hand, a direct mail advertiser promoting a new magazine assumes that receivers will only give a quick glance, something that's perceived as junk mail. So if he wants someone to read it, he needs to have it look not like junk mail. So this brings in all kinds of things. When senders know their purpose and anticipate the expected response, they're better able to shape successful messages. So let's look at this. This is kind of a cool process. We're going to be talking about this for the rest of the quarter. So I don't know if you want to dog ear this page or what. First, the sender, you have an ideal. Clarify it, depend on the purpose of the message. In other words, why are you doing it? Analyze it. How can it best be presented? And anticipate the effect on the receiver. Because you're not just writing now, you're thinking, oh, they're going to get angry at this. They're going to enjoy this. Oh, they're going to laugh at this joke. And we all do that in one way, shape, form, or fashion. The sender, you, should consider the receiver's background, their communication skills, their experience, and their culture and their context. If you're writing a letter to your niece, who is 13 years old, or writing her a note, you're going to write differently for your 13-year-old niece than you are going to write for your 25-year-old friend. It's different languages. You're going to be talking about different things. Words are going to be different. Okay, so that's what that means. Choose concrete words and appropriate symbols and encourage feedback. Additionally, consider the importance of the message, feedback that's required, whatever interactivity is going to be required. Choose a channel that the receiver prefers. It means the way you're going to communicate it. Think of ways to reduce channel noise and distractions. Yes, it does mean channel noise. And be aware of competing messages. The receiver, the person you're writing to, needs to avoid prejudging the message. Strive to understand both verbal and nonverbal cues. Ignore the distractions. Create receptive environment and expect to learn from the message one way or the other. Okay. And also the receiver should craft a clear and complete response that reveals comprehension or understanding of the message meaning. Now they're going to do it the way they perceive the message, the way they understand it. Begin the cycle again when the receiver becomes the sender with the same concerns. So you have a great Aunt Sue, you're the sender, you've emailed great Aunt Sue about a birthday party for somebody, surprise birthday party maybe for your mom. Um, and then, so you're the sender, great Aunt Sue is the receiver. When she responds to you about the things to do for your mom, great Aunt Sue becomes the sender and you become the receiver. So you need to flip flop your hats. So sender encodes the ideal. So let's go back just a second. We're up here. First, you have your thought. Then you have to encode it. This means converting the ideal into words or gestures that will convey the meaning. And they're saying gestures because you know, PowerPoint, or you may be any more, there could be videotaping. A major problem in communicating any message verbally is that words have different meanings for different people. Okay? Recognizing how easy it is to be misunderstood, skilled communicators choose familiar, concrete words. In choosing proper words and symbols, senders must be alert to the receiver's communication skills, attitudes, and background, especially if your receiver is from another country, like Great Britain. I'm trying to think of something. Well, let's see, we call the back end of a car a trunk, okay? And if I remember what my daughter told me, in Great Britain, they don't use the word trunk, they use bump. If I said that right, anybody that's from Great Britain, don't kill me for slaughtering that. All right, that type of thing. And here they're showing you international messages require even more care. In Great Britain, the press called a new recycling program a scheme. Well, here in the States, scheme means something underhanded. It means something not legal. So New York-based sponsor was really offended and ticked off. In Britain, however, word scheme carries no such negative meaning. The most successful messages uses appropriate words. Okay, so then once you have the encoding, you, the sender, selects the channel and how you transmit the message. And selecting the channel is a medium. Medium means the way it's going. Okay, so the medium over which a message travels is the channel. Messages may be delivered by computer, wireless network, smartphone, social media, letter, memorandum, yada, yada, okay? Today's messages are increasingly carried over digital networks with much opportunity for distraction and breakdown. It could be that there's interference. It could be that the message gets garbled. Your receiver may be overloaded with a bunch of messages, especially if they've been on vacation. Only well-crafted messages may be accepted, understood, and acted on. And here's the definition of noise, okay? Right there. Anything that interrupts the transmission of a message in the communication process. Channel noise may range from a weak internet signal to sloppy formatting and typos. Okay, so in this case, sloppy formatting and typos is also considered noise. And then the receiver. So now we've talked about you. Okay, you have the thought, you encode it, you select channel and transmission. Now it's the receiver's ball game. The individual to whom the message is intended is the receiver. Translating the message from its symbol form into meaning involves decoding. I didn't hit something right. Only when the receiver understands the meaning intended by the sender, successfully decodes a message, does communication take place. No two people share the same life experiences or have the same skills. Decoding can be disrupted internally by the receiver's lack of attention, or by bias against the sender, or by competing messages. It can be disrupted externally by loud sounds or illegible words. Decoding can also be sidetracked, such as misunderstood words or emotional reactions. A memo that refers to women in the office as chick or babes, for example, may disturb its receiver so much that they fail to focus on the message. In other words, offended, and they're not going to read your message. Okay. On the receiving end, successful decoding is more likely to be achieved when the receiver creates a receptive environment and ignores distractions. Alert receivers strive to understand both verbal and nonverbal cues. The other thing that can be done with this, okay, is depending on the age of your receiver, the terminology that you use could affect the way the message is being received. Okay, so I get annoyed when people use terms of endearment to me when they talk to me and they don't even know me. And if I get a message from somebody I've only met maybe once or twice, and they're using terms of endearment, meaning sweetie and hun, because I'm 61 years old, okay? And my growing up, you didn't do that. Only family members could do that, or your spouse, or your parents, somebody like that, let alone someone you've never met. For me, that's noise. For me, um, that's an obstacle. So you kind of have to think too about age. Feedback returns to sender. So the receiver decodes it, then it's going to be returned to the sender. Verbal and nonverbal responses of the receiver create feedback. Am I making myself clear? Is there anything you don't understand? You kind of have to figure that out. Senders can improve feedback by timing the delivery appropriately. Receivers improve the communication process by providing clean and complete feedback. All right. You can do paraphrasing the sender's messages with comments such as, let me try to explain that in my own words, kind of gives your person a head up. Here's a descriptive response. I understand you want to grow square watermelons because they fit into refrigerators more easily. And the response is, your business ideals are always goofy. Barriers that create misunderstanding. Let's just go through them kind of quickly because this is getting kind of long for you. Bypassing, it's an important barrier to clear communication and involves words. Bypassing happens. Here we go. Okay. Bypassing happens when people miss each other with their meetings. Let's say your boss asks you to help with a large customer mailing. When you arrive to do your share, you learn that you're expected to do the whole mailing yourself. Hey, come help us. Well, it's not helping. You're the one doing it. So you and your boss attached different meanings to the word help. One study revealed right here. One study revealed a high likelihood of miscommunication. It's not doing it. When people use common but vague words such as probably, always, never, usually, often, soon, and right away. I mean, there's no definite tomorrow, yesterday, in an hour. It's just really kind of like when things just feel whatever way they feel. Differing frames of reference. Everything you see and feel in the word is translated through your individual frame of reference. Your unique frame is formed by a combination of your experiences, your education, your culture, your expectations, your personality, and everything else that makes up you. Because your frame of reference is different from everyone else's, you will never see things exactly as others do. American managers, I don't know if it's working yet or not, but I'll just leave it like this. American managers eager to reach an agreement with a Chinese part supplier were disappointed with the slow negotiation process. The Chinese managers, on the other hand, were pleased that so much time had been taken to build personal relationships with the American managers. The American managers were getting aggravated because things wasn't moving faster, and the Chinese managers were going, hey, they're taking time. This must be pretty important. Different frames of reference, different cultures. And then there are distractions. Other barriers include emotional interference, physical distractions, digital interruptions, fear, resentment, hostility, sadness. To reduce the influence of emotions on communication, both senders and receivers should focus on the content and try to remain objective. Overcoming communication obstacles. Um, Effective communicators also focus on receiver's environment and frame of reference. They ask themselves, how is that individual likely to react to my message? Does the receiver know as much about the subject as I do? So this is what you would consider and your thoughts would be when you're making your note, okay? Misunderstandings are less likely if you arrange your ideas logically and use words precisely. And they quote Mark Twain, the difference between an almost right word and the right word is like the difference between lightning and the lightning bug. Effective communicators create an environment for useful feedback. In oral communication, that means asking questions such as, do you understand, and what questions do you have, as well as encouraging the listeners to repeat instructions or paraphrase ideals. There's also a thing they call, which is parroting, like the bird parrot, Parroting. Basically, when you're talking to someone and you give them, and they're answering your question, just to make sure you understand, you're the receiver, you will restate what you think they just said to you. Okay. And so when you finish restating it, they're either go, yeah, you got it. That's cool. Or, no, you didn't quite understand me. I need, what I tried to say was, okay, so the word parenting is used that way. And then sometimes in written communications, you have my phone numbers in case you have questions, or here's my email so you can ask me questions right away. All right, so that's it for learning objective 1. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and then we'll start learning objective 2.